Good afternoon and welcome to Trinity University and the 2021 Stumberg Prize Finals. Let's give it up. My name is Dr. Luis Martinez, and I am absolutely thrilled to welcome you in person for the 2021 7th Annual Stumberg Prize Finals. It is so wonderful to have you all be here on Trinity University's campus. For many of our students, they are here for 4 years, and this is a place that they call home. But I think it's actually really important for us to acknowledge those indigenous peoples that were here previously that called this place home for so many more generations, right? And so we'd like to take a little moment to acknowledge that this place where Trinity is at, this place of innovation, this place of learning, this place of belonging has and been for many generations the traditional lands of the Payaya band of the Huahuecan people here in San Antonio. And after them, the Lipan Apache. So this has been a place constantly of gathering. This has been a place constantly of living. And we take a small moment to honor and recognize that truth. Thank you. I'd like to present our Vice Presidents for Academic Affairs, Megan MUSTAIN.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to take a couple minutes. I don't want to take too long here because I know we want to get to the competition itself, to say a few thank yous. So first, thank you to Luis and to the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship for supporting this program, for supporting our students, and for helping these dreams become reality. Thank you also to everyone attending here. Thank you for your support for our students. Thank you for the encouragement and for your eagerness that I can just feel in this room. Thank you also to our esteemed judges for sharing your time, for sharing your expertise, and for sharing your enthusiasm for this work. Our students feel it, we feel it, and it is much appreciated. Thank you to our faculty. I see some of you out there in the room. You educate, you inspire our students to learn, to grow, and to create. And what we see here today is the evidence of all of that and the power of it in our students' lives. So thank you. Thank you also to our students. Those of you who are participating in this competition, those of you who are here to encourage and support your friends, what you do at Trinity matters. And we see you as the reflection of all of our dedication and our work. We are proud of you. We are especially proud of the work that you've done in this pandemic. So our competitors this evening did their work in the middle of a global pandemic. To muster the energy to get out of bed in the morning was enough during the global pandemic. But to muster the energy to work together in a team, to build something new, to imagine something new, and to make it real, that is an immensely incredible work. So thank you so much for all that you've done. We are utterly proud of you and glad to support you here. And lastly, thank you to the Stumberg family. Louis Stumberg, oh, that's not him, that's me, whose name is on this venture competition, is a real inspiration to us at Trinity and a real inspiration to our students. We are proud to have his name. Thank you. Oh.
Thank you, Dr. MUSTAIN. So we're thrilled that we get an opportunity to share the Trinity Stumberg Prize as part of San Antonio Startup Week. So for all of those that are joining us online, this is part of San Antonio's celebration of startups. This is the marquee event for today as part of San Antonio Startup Week. And we're thrilled to be partners with the great celebration of startups and tech that's happening right now here in San Antonio. The program here at Trinity University in entrepreneurship is unique. It's unique in the sense that our program is university-wide. We are committed to ensure that every student has the opportunity to build something while they're students, whether it's a for-profit or a nonprofit, whether it's a tech company or a taco truck, whether they are a first-year student or a graduating senior. Regardless of whatever their major is, whether it be anthropology or zoology or business or analytics or any of our other 46 majors, entrepreneurship here at Trinity is about action, and it's about building, it's about doing something for the first time. The 4 teams that you will be seeing today represent 37 teams that have been supported by the Trinity Stumberg Prize. After today's big check of $25,000, the Stumberg Prize will have awarded over, are you ready? $370,000 for early stage companies that have been started by companies and students here at Trinity. So these 4 teams will join those 37 companies and for-profits and nonprofits. And collectively to date, over the last 7 years, that $370,000 investment has been translated into over $6 million of early stage funding by those companies. That's remarkable, and that's something I think we can all give a round of applause to. Now, while we do talk about, the amount of money these companies have been given and the amount of money that they've raised, Trinity University is not an incubator. It's not an accelerator. It's an educational institution. And we're committed to having students doing it for real. So just like our students in the arts are creating in the studios, just like our students in the sciences are creating in the labs, our students in entrepreneurship are building real companies as part of their educational experience. Many of these students will go on and actually graduate and work in the companies that they've started while they're students. Others will go back into the local ecosystem here in San Antonio or in Austin or in Houston and to join startups fueled by the experiential learning experience that's been done through this program. So what you'll be witnessing in just a little bit is the culmination of a long journey for these students. It's been 9 months since these students started. I'd like you to go back 9 months ago when we were in the middle of sort of coming out of the worst of the lockdown of the pandemic. These teams began to formulate their ideas as part of our campus-wide call for ideas here at Trinity in late October, early November of last year. They formulated their ideas, they were working with faculty, they were working with our entrepreneurs, and they then went ahead and started their Stumberg journey. They ended up being part of a overall collective seed competition where from 10 teams, these 4 teams were selected to spend the summer with us in our Summer Accelerator program, and now, today, compete for the grand prize of $25,000. It's really remarkable. As Dr. MUSTAIN had said, the Stumberg Prize honors the legacy of Louis H. Stumberg. He was an incredible entrepreneur, the gentleman who brought patio foods, who brought freeze-dried, oven TV dinners, Mexican Tex-Mex to the world, started here in San Antonio. And he was a remarkable entrepreneur. He was also a business leader here in the community, being a former president of the Greater San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. That's right, the same Greater San Antonio Chamber of Commerce that in 1941 asked a small school from somewhere else in Texas to move into San Antonio. He also was a civic leader as well. But what he's remembered for, in addition to his philanthropy, is the commitment that he had to working with other entrepreneurs. There have been many, many stories that have been told in this community about how Mr. Stumberg was the person that you went to for that advice, the person who connected that person to someone else, the person who helped them find their first customer, the person who was their first customer. His counsel and his guidance for generations of San Antonio entrepreneurs is honored today in the formulation of today's final prize. This has been a huge team effort. There's been an enormous group of people that have been part of building this program and making it happen. We want to obviously thank the individuals who helped fund our program this year. We're so grateful for the West Endowment as well as the Stumberg Prize Endowment that have provided us the kind of support that we needed here today. We're also incredibly grateful for the support that our students received during the Summer Accelerator program. So all of our students who were part of today's final spent the entire summer with us in 10 weeks during our Summer Accelerator program, where they got the opportunity to build real businesses. Through the Olin Endowment, we were able to provide them actually summer stipends so they could be paid to be working on their companies full-time here in the dorms during the summer. And with the aid of the San Antonio community, of mentors, of folks in our own VMS mentoring program, they were able to get that advice and get that content. I want to provide also a great thanks to our Entrepreneur in Residence program that has really helped guide these teams. We'd like to go ahead and thank last year's Entrepreneur in Residence, Matt Glazier, who helped sort of form and get these teams up to speed to this year, and this year, to this year's Entrepreneur in Residence, Jake Gray, who's in the audience, take a bow, say hello, who helped go ahead and got these teams to the end. We're also incredibly grateful for our partners and friends and supporters, Blue Sky Partners, Frost Bank, and Broadway Bank, who help provide bank accounts for these actual real companies, Avalon Beer that you'll be able to enjoy at the reception, and Quick Sip Coffee, as well as the Trinity Venture Mentoring Program, Geekdom, and San Antonio Startup Week. This is something that could be not done without the great work and community of the judges that are here today. Now, while I know you're waiting to go ahead and get to the teams, that's the most exciting part, I think it's really important for at least for me to let you know who the judges are, and you can read their bios in the program. I'd like to first sort of thank our first judge, Eric Adolfi, who's the founder and CEO and principal investigator of Forward Edge AI. Eric, let's give him a round of applause. It's important for us to bring back alumni entrepreneurs as well as people from the community. Our first alumni entrepreneur is John Burnham, class of 2010, co-founder and principal of Burnham & Gray. Give him a round of applause. We're so thrilled to have this year's chair of the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, as well as the CEO and president of the South Texas Allergy and Asthma Medical Professionals in Clinical Research, Dr. Erica Gonzalez. Another alum coming from Austin, from that long drive down from Austin, COO and co-founder of 4Flight, Adam Houghton, class of 2001. We're thrilled also to have with us a giant in the local startup here community. He has been so involved in the work and his great legacy with the great work that's been happening downtown at Geekdom, and the co-founder of Porcall, Brett Priot. Brett, where are you, Brett? There's Brett. And if you don't know what Jungle Disc is, you should look it up because he's amazing. And finally, Margot Slauson, class of 2009, a consultant and a wonderful entrepreneur here in San Antonio. Margot. Today's competition will be done Shark Tank style. The evaluation of the judges is done in part by this pitch as well as the materials that all the teams had submitted prior to today's competition. So the judges have already evaluated the team's business plan, their marketing plans. They have an opportunity to examine their financials, and this final piece of their determination is today's pitch. It will be a Shark Tank style pitch competition. There'll be 8 minutes for these companies to present and 5 minutes for Q&A by the judges. The decision of the judges is final. Are we ready to begin today's final for the 2021 Stumberg Finals? Let's bring it down. First team up, Commu.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jalen,
And I'm Mick.
and we're Commute, the virtual traffic stop, aiming to use everyday technology to save lives. Commute is a mobile application that offers simplicity and safety for both the officer and the driver through a contactless, paperless, and efficient traffic stop, making the virtual experience quick and painless. Commute is a de-escalation tool that aims to reduce tension and eliminate risk in a traffic stop.
Now, a traffic stop occurs once every 3 seconds. All right, now imagine John, for example. He gets pulled over. He's scared. He's nervous. His emotions flare up. Sensible communication is lost. And soon, the traffic stop escalates, putting both the driver, John, and the officer in serious danger. Now, in the last 5 years, we've seen a significant breakdown of trust, that only 1 of 2 Americans say that they fully trust law enforcement. Now, the traffic stop is the most common interaction between officers and citizens, but because they occur so frequently, there's a growing concern for driver safety, due in part to the lack of technology that would keep John and the officer safe.
Now, what does Commute do for John? Not only will Commute reduce the tensions that may occur on the stop, but it will also get John home quickly and safely. Commute will also provide the driver, which is John, ease of mind, knowing that the interaction between him and the officer will be recorded and saved to his phone. This will ensure accountability for both parties.
Now, Commute would be split between 2 applications, one for the officer and one for the driver. Let's quickly take a look to see how a traffic stop would look in our app. So when an officer pulls over a driver, he would pull out his Commute app and input the driver's license plate number, which would show up the driver's name and phone number, which he would connect to. Then the driver would get a notification on his phone, which would prompt him to download the Commute app so that he can begin communication with the officer. Now, the officer can communicate with the driver in the traffic stop, but without having to approach the driver's vehicle blindly. Now, once the stop concludes, both parties will receive a summary and a recording of the interaction.
While we know the primary focus is the virtual traffic stop, we plan to include additional benefits for both the driver and the officer as well. We plan to have the officer use a translation tool to effectively communicate with non-English speaking drivers. We also plan to have the drivers be able to pay their tickets straight through our app, as well as rate their traffic stop interactions. This will provide police departments an additional data point to help improve and build community trust. We would also have an open data platform that would allow the public to stay informed on the latest Commute metrics. Also, we would have the drivers be able to self-report their medical condition so that the officer is aware and can respond appropriately to the situation. Now, lastly, we would help Texas police departments create, organize, and send their annual mandatory racial profile reports. Now, in 2014, President Obama initiated a task force to identify the best policing practices that reflect 21st century policing. Even today, traffic stop procedures lack modern-day technology for the driver's benefit. Now, we are planning to build Commute under the guidelines and model of 21st century policing.
Now, we've been reaching out to local neighborhood associations within San Antonio to start to acquire community interest. So far, we've had meetings with 4 presidents of different neighborhood associations, as well as continued meetings from both Alamo Heights and Olmos Park police departments. We've also been working closely with Trinity's police department and have had strong interest from the University of Connecticut and Tennessee State University. But it is our goal to collaborate with all of them to build the best product possible. Now, as mentioned before, our initial no-cost driver adoption strategy would revolve around the driver getting text message prompts during the stop to download Commute. But because our market is two-sided, we'll have to focus on law enforcement adoption as well, meaning that our early law enforcement partners will support our outreach with word-of-mouth endorsements. But because we want to expand Commute nationally, we'll have to rely and use our results from our initial beta tests so that we can successfully market Commute to our prospective universities and police departments.
Now, the market for our service is extensive. The North American public safety market is valued at $137 billion. The US market is valued at $14.6 billion. But for now, we plan on working with the San Antonio Police Department budget, which is roughly $480 million. Now, 8% of that budget is specifically designed for public safety, which is $43 million, and innovation, which is $1.4 million. We plan to tap into both.
Now, our business model would consist of 3 primary streams of revenue. The first would be from police departments, as we would expect them to pay for our service monthly, depending on the number of patrol officers that would use our app. The second would be from universities. We would also expect them to pay for it monthly, however, depending on the number of students on campus. And lastly, Jalen and I would also charge law enforcement a 0.5% convenience fee for every ticket that is paid through our app. Now, we want to be clear. Our app is free to download for all drivers, as we only plan to charge law enforcement.
While the virtual traffic stop market is still relatively new, we do, however, have 2 primary competitors, Check and Tyler Technologies. Mick and I have had multiple meetings with the founder of Check, which has allowed us to further understand our competitor. Now, Tyler Technologies is a Fortune 500 company that runs many of the police department systems across the country. Though they do have mobile e-citations, Commute plans to focus exclusively on the virtual traffic stop. Even though we're not reliant on their systems, we do, however, plan to partner with them in the long term as we foresee long-term seamless integration.
Now, throughout our journey, we've developed a strong advisory board. Everyone here believes in our mission and have been great resources to us as we continue to develop Commute. But we want to get our product into the hands of our customers as soon as possible. So we want to use the majority of the $25,000 to develop our working prototype so that we can beta test by the end of next summer, meaning that in the beginning of 2023, we'll be ready to officially launch our product within the Bexar County area.
Now, I am from Ferguson, Missouri. I personally witnessed the Ferguson riots firsthand of 2014 and the deep distrust that is still prevalent within law enforcement and my community today. Our goal is to restore that trust. So let's start with the most common police-citizen interaction, the traffic stop. Again, I'm Jalen.
And I'm Mick.
Help us use everyday technology to save lives. Thank you.
Oh, there we go. Hello. Thank you all so much for the presentation. It was great. I had one question about the constituents that you worked with when you were working to develop the product, because there's a lot of drivers on the road who, particularly low income, who do not have access to like a Wi-Fi download immediately through like an LTE transaction, or they use a phone that is paid by minute. Mm-hmm. How do you propose that the product is used to reach those individuals who might actually need it the most?
Well, we want to emphasize that Commute is not necessarily a replacement for all traffic stops. It's a tool for the officer to use if he deems it appropriate. Now, to answer your question about potentially low-income drivers, yes, that's why we want to work with our partners to develop the best product possible so that we can accommodate all drivers.
A quick related question while we're getting mic'd on there. If, let's say, the car's registered in my name,
Yes.
and my teenager's driving it, and my teenager gets pulled over, I'm going to get a text message, because in the DMV it's going to go to me and say, I'm having a traffic stop right now. How do you foresee solving that even the registered owner of the car may not be the one sitting behind the wheel?
Yes, to answer that question, so when we spoke to our early partners, they said they would just continue the stop as normal. So even if you get a text to the parent and your kid's driving the car, right, the officer can just stop the stop and go and conduct it in person.
But I want to add on to that. Now, like we mentioned before, this is our initial means of driver adoption. We want to build our app out, which would eventually include a service where everyone would have their own unique Commute driver app. So even though your teenager is driving your car, the officer will be able to communicate with your teenager. However, for now, because we want to get our idea out there initially, we're doing the license plate identification method for now. But we do have plans to expand.
Gentlemen, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Thank you. So I have a couple of questions and maybe comments. Some of the stuff you guys may have already thought about. But I was wondering if some of the safety measures that you guys may have in place, particularly does this app work while the vehicle is still in motion? And also, let's say there was a driver who may be intoxicated. It's easier to get away with hiding intoxication when you're kind of conversing through virtual means or through text messaging. So are there any safety measures in place to account for these things?
Yeah, so that's why we mentioned before, we want to work with law enforcement to develop the best product possible. But yes, in terms of if a driver is intoxicated, that's why we want to rely on the officer to deem it appropriate whether a virtual traffic stop would be appropriate. So if he is in the virtual traffic stop and the officer notices something a little off, he is more than welcome to end the virtual call and approach the vehicle as he would before.
Yes, and we encourage the officers to use their own discretion for this.
Will this app work while the vehicle's in motion?
So in this traffic stop, they're going to be stopped. So this does not work on vehicles that are already in motion.
No, the officer will not send the text unless the car is stopped.
He's conducting a stop.
Okay.
So have you done any testing on like adoption issues, like downloading an app is like a problem for folks. People just don't like downloading anymore. Have you checked to see if there's going to be any adoption issues?
I kind of missed that last part. Do you mind saying that one more time?
So a barrier to adoption is always downloading an app when you're talking about new technology. So have you done any customer discovery to see whether or not people would actually download? That's the first question. Second question is, so you essentially asked me to download an app so I can get a ticket.
Okay.
We want to make sure that the stop is as safe as possible. We want the stop to be as quick as possible and without any fear needing when the officer approaches your car.
And when you say download for the driver, when the officer pulls over someone and he sends the driver a text message through the app, through their app, and the driver gets a text message, they open that link and conduct the call. And after the call, whether that driver gets a ticket or wants to access the personal recordings, they will prompt the driver to download the app to access your recordings or to pay your ticket, if that answers your question.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking, I don't want to take everybody's time, and I'll give you an analogy, right? So traffic cameras, right?
Yeah.
So there's an inherent safety, advantage to it, right? So you prevent accidents and that kind of thing. But nobody likes them because I'm going to get a ticket, right? So you're saying, and in every community where these traffic cameras are installed, people get upset. So what I'm saying to you is, have you thought about whether or not people are going to be receptive to downloading an app that's going to probably end up resulting in them getting a citation?
Yeah, absolutely. So we understand that driver adoption may be difficult. That's why we want to implement this feature in the text to download the app there. However, we will say that we've definitely thought about different parties and who would be using the app. For example, parents would want their children to download the app, knowing that their children is safe and nothing would happen to them, right? So there are a lot of different parties that we need to consider for the people who are driving or using our app.
What would you expect to get for the $20,000 on the technology side?
We would expect to be able to, now we don't know the exact cost because we're still working with our partners to figure out that exact cost, but we want to use it so that the officer can use on his mobile device or computer that's installed in their car to be able to conduct a video call with the driver on his phone. That's the core technology we want to build. That's what we call our working prototype. Then, once we have a way to communicate the officer with the driver, then we want to expand on what our app would include and what the officer can do. But our working prototype would be that video call between the officer and driver.
Yeah, and that's why it's crucial for the $25,000 for us to accelerate this timeline to what we have now, and
so we can begin beta testing with our partners.
How would you handle the liability of a data breach? I mean, assuming that you have a record of everybody's phone numbers associated with police records, I mean, that seems to be pretty sensitive information to be like a third party carrying.
Okay, yeah, currently we are wanting to work with judges, civil rights advocates, and law professors to ensure the most maximum protection possible for citizens so that something like that does not happen.
Have you guys, oh, thank you. A big part of your revenue model is reliant upon the police departments that are going to be entering into these contracts with you all for a period of time. Have you had any conversations with purchasing officers or procurement personnel to learn a little bit of the ins and outs of their expectations and what success would look like to get repeat contracts?
So you're asking, like, why would they continue to use our product, or like why would they pay for the product? Well, we have spoken with some of our partners, and I'll say first of all, every department is a little bit different on who would actually pay for the service. That's something, definitely a hurdle we're going to have to talk to our partners with. But really, we want to essentially kind of tug at the chief of police heartstrings, like, hey, we want to keep your officers safe because like in 2019, 6 officers were killed conducting traffic stops. That should not be acceptable for anybody, right? We want to make sure that all officers are safe for the officer, but also their families, right? Officers are people too, so we want to make sure that for just the virtual traffic stop itself, even officers are as safe as possible.
Let's thank you. Next up, MicroLev.
Hi, I'm Josephina.
And I'm Benny, and we are MicroLev. Did you know that one of the fastest growing areas of scientific research is in the field of aerosols? Aerosols are tiny particles and droplets all around us that can stay suspended in the air for hours on end. But they're also the key to researching life-threatening topics, such as climate change, medication development, and viral airborne pathogens, such as influenza, measles, chickenpox, and namely, coronavirus. Now, coronavirus is obviously a huge topic right now, but really it's only highlighted the issues that these aerosol researchers have been facing for years. The source of these issues is that there's only one device available for aerosol researchers to study single droplets, and obtaining that device isn't easy. Josie, why is that?
Well, the problem with that is that this device costs upwards of $340,000. And within research institutions, a device that expensive requires the involvement of a procurement committee, which can extend acquisition time by a factor of 5 or more months. Additionally, it lacks critical capabilities that many researchers are looking for. And finally, it's just not intuitive to use, so it requires expertise to operate.
Thanks, Josie. Okay, so let's all analyze that problem. Scientists have a strong desire to study aerosols, but they don't have adequate research equipment to do so. Important research is being postponed due to lengthy acquisition times of a year or more, just to obtain devices that aren't user-friendly and lack critical functionalities. But what if there's a second option, one that enabled these researchers to accelerate their studies? We at MicroLev created just that. We invented a cost-effective research device that runs at $179,000 less than that of our competitors. This affordable price streamlines the acquisition process, enabling these researchers to accelerate their research by more than 5 months. Additionally, it provides superior performance and is intuitive for researchers to use. Here at MicroLev, we aim to enable research that saves time, money, and lives.
This is our dual-balance electrodynamic trap. It can analyze single aerosols in a controlled environment. Here you can see a video of our device levitating mucus droplets. This was part of an experiment that we conducted for a lab at the University of Colorado Boulder, and where we supplemented them with data that they would include in a white paper regarding disease transmission. In doing so, we provided them with vital research data that they otherwise could not have obtained.
Here, you can see a direct comparison to our competitors. With a provisional patent, we will be the first company to commercially sell a cost-effective aerosol research device that can be used in a wide variety of applications in industrial and scientific research. It's portable, easy to acquire, and easy to use.
Our product falls within the laboratory equipment industry that has a market size of $11.7 billion and is predicted to reach $18.6 billion by 2025. Due to the wide range of scientific and industrial applications of our product, we can target 3 customer segments. First, academic and research institutions, then pharmaceutical and biotechnology companies, and finally, diagnostic and clinical laboratories. Thanks to our established professional network, the first customer segment that we will target are academic and research institutions. There are 4,765 biochemistry, analytical, and environmental engineering labs within these institutions in the US that have the potential to conduct aerosol research. We will target this market by using our primary marketing initiatives, such as presenting at research conventions, trade shows, technology conferences, and creating influential research partnerships.
We plan to conduct R&D, manufacture, and supply the device ourselves through the interconnection of a lab at Trinity and a makerspace at CU Boulder. Controlling this process in-house allows us to maintain device integrity and keep costs of goods sold low, around $26,000. We then sell at a base price of $162,500 for a gross profit margin of 84%. Now, we know that we've shared all the exciting advantages that we hold at MicroLev, and the biggest challenge that we have to overcome is our lack of reputation. This is why we have the MicroLev Early Adopter Program. This initiative will incentivize researchers to work with us early on, building the wide user base and reputation that we need to jumpstart our business. In exchange for their early adoption opportunity, these customers will share their research within our community, inspiring further discoveries and allowing us to stay ahead of our customers' needs by building our product line based on their feedback. These marketing initiatives and early adopter program have already brought us 1 customer.
We'd like to introduce to you Dr. Chelmo, our first customer. She leads an aerosol engineering laboratory at the University of North Dakota. After hearing about our product on social media, she reached out to us and was thrilled by the possibilities now available to her. Here we have 3 direct quotes from her recently approved grant proposal stating her motivating factors for purchasing our equipment. 1, she purchased our equipment because of the broad and numerous scientific and industrial applications of aerosol research due to the large untapped potential of single particle laboratory techniques. 2, its portability will allow vital outreach activities. And 3, running the instrument is independent of years of laboratory experience, which is convenient when introducing new students into the research process. And we know she's not alone. We plan to put one of our devices in every aerosol research lab in the US.
Over the past 6 months, we used the Stumberg Seed Round money to incorporate our business, to continue product development, and to begin the process of filing a provisional patent. We're here today seeking $25,000 primarily to file a utility patent, and the rest will go towards these other critical areas. At this point, we know that the most rare and valuable assets that we have are our intangible assets, and the key to securing our competitive advantage is to protect our intellectual property early. In 5 years, we plan to make $2.9 million in device sales, and the $25,000 grant would directly support our goal of meeting these projections. Once again, my name is Benny. My experience in high-value sales, finance, and customer service, and educational background in business analytics and human communication will help us expand our market reach and maximize revenue, as well as establish a trustworthy reputation and maintain positive customer relationships.
And I'm Josephina. Over the past 3 years, I've worked on design and development of aerosol research equipment in an aerosol research lab, including that of our product, the DBET. Additionally, I have an educational background in management and entrepreneurship. Our Chief Scientific Officer, Dr. Ryan Davis, over here, has 20 years of aerosol research experience at institutions such as Berkeley National Labs. This ensures that he has the expertise to lead our tech development. Together, our team has been accepted to speak at the National Aerosol Research Conference in 2021 and has partnered with many labs across the US. Our combined skill set and shared team values will allow us to achieve our goal of enabling research that saves time, money, and lives.
We would like to thank all of our advisors, mentors, and instructors. We're so grateful for all of your invaluable support and advice. Thank you so much for your time. If you're as excited about MicroLev as we are, please contact us and join us on our journey.
Ladies.
So many questions. So many questions. So very crowded market, right? And replacing some of the equipment that's already in these labs is going to be very difficult. Do you have to integrate with any spectrometers for this to work, or no?
No, this device does not need to be coupled to any other device. It can be coupled to a spectrometer, which we find as a big advantage, actually.
And what's that advantage?
So by being able to couple it with other devices, we can expand the area of research, right? I mean, there's a lot of scientists that are just working on spectrometers, and so by being able to couple it, we can just expand that market.
You mind? Oh, go ahead,
Do you
please.
have a follow-up?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have a couple more, but go ahead.
Okay. First of all, congratulations on landing your first customer. That's super impressive and very exciting. One of my questions comes from the business plan that you all shared in advance. You mentioned about trying to determine ownership rights of your technology. When do you anticipate that will be settled?
So we're currently in negotiations with Trinity on ownership rights, but we currently have been working with our attorneys on building a patent application, and that is completed. And so once we know ownership, whether it be Trinity or us, then we can file that. We expect to have that within the next 60 days.
Okay.
60 and 90 days, sorry. Yeah.
A lot of viability comes down to your ability to be able to respond to a large uptick in people who are looking to purchase the item at the same time. So because you're underselling your competitors by a significant margin, how would you handle a large quantity of sales that would come in simultaneously, especially in a climate like now where we're already seeing sort of shipping industry struggles?
Yeah, with a device like this, that's a really common question. How would we handle getting a bunch of orders at once? And I would say that in this industry, you're not ordering something on Amazon and expecting it to get to your house within 2 days. A typical lead time in this industry is about 3 to 4 months, and that's not the amount of time that it takes us to build and deliver it. And that is one of our strengths, is our fast response to delivering these devices. But that is the norm, and we do have that built in. We do have that wiggle room so that people aren't expecting these fast turnarounds. But I will say that in this industry, the norm is, because you're paying so much for a device, you want to reach out to the people who will be selling it to you. You want to ask your questions, get information, make sure it's the right fit. So typically, these scientists will be reaching out to companies months in advance before they buy it. That was definitely the case with Dr. Chelmo. We talked to her for a while, found out about what she wanted to research, and made sure it's the right fit for her. And so we will have that heads-up notice that somebody's interested and that an order may be placed.
So what type of certifications from different regulatory do you need to be used in creation of a pharmaceutical or in certain types of research funded by different grants? Are there things that you have to go through from a regulatory certification before you can be sold to those kind of labs?
Right, so since our first customer segment is academic and research institutions, we are not in a clinical setting. We don't have to go through any of those regulations. There are, of course, OSHA regulations of where we have to make sure that no one's exposed to, the chemicals inside of the device, or no one's exposed to a high laser or high voltage, and we've ensured that in our design.
Ladies, I just wanted to make a comment, and it's more so than a question. So I'm from the healthcare industry and also do research. So I wanted to congratulate you guys first on an excellent presentation, but also on hoping that you realize the downside effect on what this does to healthcare costs. So one of our biggest problems right now is that it all starts at the research level. The cost associated with that trickles down to our patients. So the cheaper we can make it up front, the better it is to increase healthcare access. So I think that this is an excellent idea and concept.
Really glad to hear that. Thank you.
I've got one question and a comment. It would have been helpful if you, I'd love to see how your device compares with like Raman or QCM And as far as results and accuracy, that would be very helpful. Cost is one factor, but accuracy is going to be very important in this market. And the second, you've got about 48 hours, maybe 48 hours. There's a topic, open topic, Army Small Business Innovation Research Program for your technology. Right now, it closes in 2 days. So you've got 2 days to respond.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
We're
definitely
looking into a
something we
lot
should
of
look
SBIR grants.
It's
so,
due in 2 days.
yeah. And I would like to just mention for the comparison with the other devices that you mentioned, we are entering into an emerging market of specifically single aerosol levitation techniques. And we're not substituting those devices you mentioned, but more of the AOT, the aerosol optical tweezers that we discussed.
For the expenses that you projected in your financials, do you only have access to Trinity and CU Boulder's space while you're students, or is that an arrangement that you expect to be able to continue after you graduate?
Yeah, so Josie, would you like to show the scalability slide? Sure. So we don't plan to work with Trinity after we graduate, and that's also part of our scalability and us desiring our ability to increase production capacity. And so after we graduate, we plan to work with a makerspace at somewhere in San Antonio or Austin. We have a couple in mind that we're still researching, and that will give us our own space and our own ability to really maximize production capacity. And in a few years, we hope to get our own lab.
Thank you.
Thank you, MicroLev.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out today. I'll be talking with you about how New Works is planning on investing in San Antonio's future. Investing in San Antonio's future through its students, using theater as an accessible way of getting students in economically disadvantaged schools back invested in their education. So, I guess first I should start by introducing myself and my partner. Hello, my name is Ren Ramos, and my partner is Taylor Condren, and we are those students. We are those students who theater has given us the ability to find the support and the inspiration to keep going and keep making and creating. I mean, without theater, I wouldn't have the confidence, the ability, the leadership, the skill to be able to stand up here before all of you all and show and bring about this business. So, I need to talk about San Antonio again. San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the United States. San Antonio is also the city with the zip code that is both the richest and the poorest. What that has led to is low school retention, arts programs being under-supported, and arts education becoming inaccessible. Now, let me break that down. What does that mean? that means that students are lacking the support that they need. If students are looking for a reason to come to school, looking for a reason to keep going, then we can offer that through the arts. But without the arts being there as a means of giving them a reason, then they don't go back. And we want to give them that reason. New Works offers at-risk youth engagement, creating community for retention, accessible arts education. We do that by giving them this education in the arts that'll help them continue forward and give them the skills necessary to keep going. So, how does New Works plan on giving out these benefits? New Works is divided into an education program, into two different parts. The first one is our education program. Our education program is us taking the opportunity to teach theater in a new and exciting way. We want to teach theater by doing, not by speaking. We want them to be able to create their own theatrical work. And so we do that through a 4-week program that is broken down by the first week being all about writing and putting on their own play. They write this play in the first week. Then it's divided into 2 weeks of choosing 2 roles, a performance role and a design role. They get to learn things like lighting design, costume design, acting. These are the kinds of things that you don't learn until you're in a college or a university. And we're giving it to them, to the students who need it at an early age to get them invested in it. Now, our education program is equity-based. By being able to do it in a school in the north side, the cost that we put it at then makes it accessible to then be hosted in the south side where it needs it. This is really exciting because while there is a need in the south, there's not always necessarily the funds to do so. And we know that. We also know that with not even being able to sometimes have those funds accessible, sometimes they don't even know that it's something that they need, which is why New Works also has our shows. We take our shows directly into those schools and show them that theater is something that is fun. It's something that you can do, and it's a method of expression that they can really get into. Now, here's the exciting part. We've already done the first step. We've already put on our first show. Over the summer, we rallied 15 other Trinity students. And with the help of a partnership with Trinity University, we rehearsed and performed our show, The Comedy of Romeo and Juliet, which is an accessible version of Romeo and Juliet that we then filmed and are sending out to high schools and middle schools as a way of more easily getting students into understanding the text of Romeo and Juliet. It was really exciting. We raised upwards of $3,000 and made $1,600 over 3 days of closed performances. This is money that existed. This is something that we've done, and it's something that we can keep doing. So whenever we talk about our shows, it's important to talk about that we are a nonprofit. We're a nonprofit that is focused on sustainability through earning revenue. So New Works makes its money through its shows, it puts on shows, and then that profit goes directly back into its education program. That then makes it able to then keep to do the shows to do the education programs in the schools that we need to. It's a way of keeping us afloat as we keep going. Yes. So New Works divides everything into beneficiary and buyer. Our beneficiary is our students. We need to create a program that is accessible and something that they'll find interesting. But our buyer is the schools. And what we sell is getting schools in the South Side to be able to really feel like they have a program that can get students invested back in school. Retention is already a problem. We offer a creative solution. Now, usually, for most companies, there's competition. But what we have whenever we look at New Works in our nonprofit is cooperation. There's a lot of organizations here in San Antonio that aren't necessarily in our exact same track. And in that way, we can grow together and work as a team. We've already partnered and talked about possible collaborations with SACE, looking at using their space and continuing forward on that route. We've talked about using the overtime and using their spaces for rehearsals and performances. I'd also like to point out as a group that is doing something that is similar to ours, but not necessarily the same, and that is Creative Action. In Austin, Creative Action puts on shows that then allows them, that also does this education and performance. They are one of the #1 nonprofits in Austin. They do 800 hours of education programming. They serve 50 schools, all that are Title I. We need this in San Antonio, and we want to be the ones to bring it here. Our future roadmap is already done. Our first step is complete. We just need the next steps to continue pushing on. Our next show in the spring, we're already moving in and doing our education program in the spring in the East Side. Now, we're looking to get to year 3. That's this big upturn where we have both the teachers and the space to keep going. Now, what we ask is that any investment in us is an investment back into San Antonio and eventually into San Antonio's students. Thank you very much.
The students are creating their own artwork, correct? Their own plays? The students are creating their own works?
Yes, they are.
And-
So in the first week, they devise it together as a team.
Who owns the work after it's done? The intellectual property, copyright, that kind of thing?
Yes, so we actually have an idea where we're going to go forward and have a festival of all of these plays. And at the very end, we'll pick one play to then fully flesh out through new works and partnering with the students. And at that point, it would become kind of dual owned by us. But they're all smaller and they'll be written by the students. So it'll primarily be through new works.
Would the initial instructors be you and your partner? Is that what you guys are kind of looking at?
Yes, so it would initially be us, particularly me, so with my experience in theater. And then going forward, we already have we had 15 other members who were helping us over the summer, and we would use them as well. But really, we're looking to hire alumni from Trinity Theater and kind of work with younger people to then help teach as well.
So throughout the presentation, you referred to the west side, south side, east side. San Antonio has 17 different school districts that have different processes as it relates to setting up after-school programs. How much engagement have you had with each of those independent districts? Because they're each going to have very different processes by which they go about this, and the resourcing is very different for each of those.
Yes. We've talked with a couple of districts, really looking at principals, and then I've had a conversation with an arts director of one of the districts. But we're really looking at starting with a flagship school, then turning that into a relationship with that district, and then once we build up more of a reputation, working outwards from there. So really not trying to hit everything at once, really stick to what we know we can do, hitting one district and then expanding outward as we grow.
And what district is that right now?
The east side. I'm gonna need to check what
I guess
specific
it'll be
district
East
that is.
Central.
Huh?
East Central ISD?
SAISD also has a footprint there too, though.
Yeah.
I think it's EISD, but I need to check in on that one.
So do you know which school districts suffer a lack of arts funding? So I have a daughter that graduated, did theater in SAISD in a Title I school, and UIL does theater competition. I know SAISD, even at their lowest schools, they have theater programs still funded today at the high school level. So do you know which schools and kind of how many of them in the market are missing this piece of the education?
So, no, I don't think we've looked specifically into that yet. I think really it's looking more at the students themselves. I think we're looking less to help students who are already involved in theater and looking at the students who, the problem of retention, where there's even the ability to get into the theater that already exists. We're not trying to recreate a theater program. We're trying to help the students who don't have a reason to school, give them something to return into their own theater programs if they have them.
To stay on that same track, I think something that you have identified that is very necessary and lacking is the programming within the schools. Can you help me better understand why in your plan owning a building for a theater is important to you and why that's part of your 3 to 5 year plan?
Yeah, so I think going off some of the points brought up, the other questions, having a space offers us to then be able to give for schools that are even smaller, who don't even, if we can't get a footing into some of those schools, allowing students to then come to us at that 3-year mark, and having a case-by-case student ability. Right now, we're really looking at going into schools and having this partnering with the schools, but eventually we want to be able to help students who are looking for that as well.
Do you think there's any risk to creative action expanding into nearby cities like San Antonio?
I mean, that's always a possibility, but what we're looking for and kind of the help that the funding would give is that we want to be the first ones here in San Antonio. They haven't, there's no thoughts right now that they'd be moving in, but also we're San Antonians, right? This is our place. We know the districts. We know this area. I went to school here, so we want to get ahead of them first and really just start right out the gate.
In your initial plan, you shared some of the curriculum that you have for the 4-week program. Have you run that curriculum by some of the local theaters and partner organizations that you've mentioned to see if there's a way to collaborate with them with your curriculum?
Yeah, as of right now, we haven't sent it out directly to them. We've mostly been sending it to different education professors, different teachers, and running it to them first to make sure that the program makes sense from the education portion first. But then definitely looking into, that'll be our next step, looking to push it to organizations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's time to ride the wave of a company that's fun and profitable. Throw out $20,000 of initial pre-orders, we're exactly that. What's up, guys? My name is Carson Bird, and I'm proud to introduce to you Wake Scoot, a company looking to make a splash in the water sports industry for years to come. Our mission is to provide ease, safety, creativity, and customizability to recreational water sports, as well as just making having fun, fun again. Now, the boys and I have been water sports fans for as long as we can remember. Several of us grew up on the lake and have built relationships with wakeboarders, wake surfers, and wake skaters. Now, through these relationships, we've noticed problems with products out there on the market. For one, they just aren't safe. Through research, we've seen about 50% of wakeboarders have experienced knee injuries through their participation in the sport, making it one of the most dangerous sports out there, more than football and rugby. Next, there's been little innovation in the sport. Since the invention of the wakeboard in 1985, there have been very few products added to the market. Consumers are ready for something new. And last, water sports are hard. It takes the average rider 20 or more tries to get up on a board for the first time, lasting several hours. This is unacceptable. We want everyone to be able to get in on the fun.
We realize it's time to give water sport riders what they need. They need a board that first and foremost provides a safe experience on the water, but also allows for the innovation of new tricks. This board must be easy for beginners to use and allow them to get up faster than ever before. That's why we created the Wake Scoot. Our board combines the sturdy handle of a scooter with the water dynamic capabilities of a wakeboard. The bar rotates freely from the board, allowing for the innovation of new tricks, such as tail whips, bar spins, and flips that were not doable on the water before. But for beginners, all you have to do to get up is lean back, press your feet on the board, and hold on. The bar takes on all the force of the boat, easily guiding the rider up onto the wake. Overall, the rider could safely spend their time on the boat, cruising and trying new tricks, rather than just trying to get up in the first place.
Throughout my many years of water sports experience, I have realized there are two different users: those who can and those who can't. Those who can are tired of doing the same tricks over and over again, and those who can't struggle to get up, which leads to frustration and honestly a little bit of embarrassment. But the good news is, with the Wake Scoot, we can combine these two markets for an all-inclusive, fun environment for everybody out in the water. Oh no. Our customers are extreme sports enthusiasts who have access to water. And we've been able to talk to thousands of them, and they're all really excited about adding a wake suit to the arsenal. Statistically, 85% of them said they'd buy a wake suit at a price of $700. We were able to offer customization and personalization of each product. Users can head on over to our website to purchase parts that make them feel stylish and unique out in the water, and they'll continue to do that as trends change over time. We were able to offer a wake suit that fits any style of rider and any size, so don't worry, we'll have a wake suit for you.
Boat sales have jumped up 20% due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Americans want to get outdoors and have more fun. Boats are and have been in high demand than ever. No doubt, even a product as revolutionary as ours will face some competitors. We narrowed down the necessities of a water sport product down to 4 main categories: beginner-friendly, expert-friendly, care park-friendly, which is a man-made wake park, and the addition of nuance. Products such as wake skate, wake surf, and wakeboard just don't compare to our product's versatility and creative design. Because of this, we foresee the ability to put on huge events that feature all extreme sports enthusiasts.
Entering the water sports market requires a strong brand personality to make us stand out from our competitors. We will continue to use social media platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube to show our customers that we're a company that's all about having good times and good vibes. We also intend to illustrate the ease of our product by posting videos of people of all different skill levels taking the wake scoot out for a ride. Through our social media platforms, we've been able to connect with thousands of potential customers. And as mentioned earlier, we've already built relationships with numerous extreme sports influencers, some even having as much as 150,000 followers on Instagram, making for great potential marketing outlets. We've received tons of hype from many verified users They're just waiting to get their hands on the product as soon as possible. By providing these influencers with discounts on our first round of orders, they've agreed to promote our product on their platform, giving our company enormous exposure. We've received almost $20,000 worth of revenue from pre-orders of customers awaiting the launch of our product. This shows just how excited our customers are about our company and about the development of the Wake Scoot. We also created our entire prototype and got to where we are today with only $2,200. So imagine what we could do with $25,000. We have the product, we have the market. Now all we need is your funds to get the ball rolling.
Now, judges, this is where you come in. We're seeking a $25,000 grant in order to take Wake Scoot from a prototype to a brand. We'll be using this money to secure a utility patent, finish up our initial prototype, and begin manufacturing on those initial pre-orders. Now, my team and I are excited for the task ahead. We genuinely just want to make water sports more accessible for everyone and make your weekend boat outings more fun. We're Wake Scoot, and thank you for listening today. Stay extreme.
Gentlemen, this is a very fun concept. I'm not much of a water sports person, but this looks like a lot of fun. The video in the beginning was great. I have a quick question. I think one of you mentioned that 70% of the people that you surveyed said they would be willing to pay the $700 price tag.
85%.
85%. So I was wondering who was surveyed and how many responses did you get from the survey?
So I'm not sure the exact amount of responses. It was over 1,000. It was largely through social media and through word of mouth through our local connections. Facebook forums have a lot of water sports pages where wakeboarders, wake surfers, wake skaters talk about new products, new tricks, anything water sports related. They just talk on there, and so we've built several connections with people on there, and that's largely through where we send out our surveys.
So you got over 1,000 responders?
Yes.
That's great.
I just send the survey. Yeah.
Can you talk a little in detail of how you'd use that $12,000 for product prototyping? What exactly would you be wanting to build and get out of your next phase?
So our prototype works incredibly well, but we want to make sure it's both safe and as effective as possible. We want to make sure it's going to last longer than the boat the user is riding on, and it's going to be able to maintain the ability as the user gets better to try more extreme tricks and everything. Our working prototype works, but we wanted something that works well beyond into the future.
So what specifically would you be wanting to do in version 2?
So some of the parts that we use on our first prototype are scooter components, but a scooter's not designed for the water. We want something that'll last long in different conditions, whether it be saltwater or freshwater lakes, to maintain the corrosion for that. We want the board to float a little better long term, so it would have to entail fiberglassing, different wood type sealants. A big part of board manufacturing is pressing the layers together into certain shapes, and that requires a good amount of money just to be able to get the ability to do that.
And
So
that's the $70,000 for machinery. What kind of machinery would that buy you?
So main machinery would be things such as CNC and plasma cutters for the metal components. Let's see here, wood pressing materials such as mentioned earlier, and part of the thing would be the CNC would be for cutting out each board and everything.
Great, thank you.
We would use a hot press as used in like normal wakeboard manufacturing in order to mold the board as well. As part of that 70,000.
Do you think there's any seasonality in your business?
Yes, there definitely is, and I illustrated that in the income statement on the business plan. Obviously, the summer months are when there's high sales, and so that's when we're going to be focusing our social media campaigns. Everything is going to be in those summer months, just as any water sports product or seasonal product would be, similar as like a lawnmower. You know, their sales are in the summer. No one's buying them in December, but we actually do have the ability to sell them in the winter months because of Christmas gifts and other holiday gifts for our target customer. We can see it as that too. But yes, there is seasonality, and we plan to, and we already know about that. And so that's where we'll be focusing a lot of our resources.
I also want to add that we have different parts for the Wake Scoot. So like if you really want a blue handlebar for Christmas, we can get you a blue handlebar. Mm-hmm. It's customizable. It lets you have personality with it. So if you buy one Wake Scoot in summertime, you can buy another part in December to get ready for summertime, or parts throughout the year.
Have you guys done a patent search?
I'm sorry.
Have you guys done a patent search?
Yes, we have. We've done a patent search. There's nothing out there like this. It would be completely proprietary. Literally, the only things out there like this are, as illustrated in the business plan, some YouTubers have done it. They've kind of constructed one in their garage. Some of them, a lot of those videos going viral, upwards of 1 million views and likes. But yes, we have done a patent search, and we would be able to get our patent, no problem.
Take a look at Sea Scooter and Hobby Mirage.
Sea Scooter, yes, we've seen Sea Scooter, and we would still be able to get a patent even with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you expand a little more on the manufacturing process? I think you said you'd be doing that in-house, and you mentioned about some of the equipment needs that you would have. What about, the facility size? How long would it take to assemble one of these?
So that would be scalable to how our business scales. I mean, first and foremost, one of our big focuses is we want to bring jobs to the San Antonio community. So we would want to do it here or nearby. That would start out probably with a smaller facility with just the few things that I mentioned before, the hot press, the CNC, as well as a room for, like putting it together and everything. As we grew larger, those certain aspects of the manufacturing process would grow and scale as well. So we would move from maybe 3 plasma machines running at all times to 5 for full term. But that depends on how fast we scale, and that would also probably more than likely include moving facilities to a more permanent location. But I mean, we're young, we're gonna start off pretty, not slow necessarily, but a smaller scale that we can manage and with a small amount of manufacturing capability.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple scaling model. The more orders we get, the more machinery we buy, and the larger manufacturing facility we get, just like any CPG product. And the more labor we hire on. So yeah, if that answers your question.
Do you have any advisors or mentors that you guys have connected with that have manufacturing experience and can help you all in this area?
Actually, I do have a good amount of manufacturing experience myself. I have
Great.
done this competition before through my company Skate Cuff. I actually worked at a manufacturing facility for a good amount of time as well, and have seen the process close up. So I have a good idea of what we would need and what we would need to be able to do to get it on the market.
Thanks.
So one item I didn't see in your business plan, and I could have missed it, was money for insurance related to y'all getting sued when someone hurts themselves on these things. Have you talked to somebody on the product liability side on how much does that really end up costing you out of that $700 that you sell each one of these for? How much do you kind of have to set aside for the future lawsuits that will happen? Right.
Yes, I believe that it was on their business plan somewhere. Yes, we've talked about it. We actually didn't have it listed as a product, as a per product cost. We just had it listed as a normal operating expense of $1,000 a month. And so that's kind of through our estimations, through talking with a few different providers of insurance, that's kind of the estimation that we've gotten.
And have you talked to any lawyers about liability issues?
Yes, we've talked to lawyers. Basically their advisorship has been, get that product liability insurance. We'll be having a safety engineer go through our full product and have that, the specs of that labeled and mentioned to customers beforehand. And so, yes, we've gone through brief communications with lawyers about that.
I would like to mention also that, as mentioned before, our product is a lot safer than other kind of wakeboards. First and foremost, we're not strapped into the board whenever you fall. So that means you're going into the water, you're not going to the board or the boat. Furthermore, when the motion of the boat is forward while you're falling would be backward. So the chances of you getting hurt through the board versus anything else would be very, very slim.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What an extraordinary competition. Let's give all the teams a round of applause. We now enter the moment of judges' deliberation. The judges will be moving off to another room to go ahead and make the determination on who will get the big check, the $25,000 grand prize award for the 2021 Stumberg Prize. But wait, please, everyone who's here physically and tuning in online, you can have the opportunity to vote on your fan favorite. So this is the opportunity to go ahead and have your vote be placed to see who will be the fan favorite for this year. You have the opportunity to go ahead and vote for your favorite team by going ahead and then texting to pollev.com /Stumberg Final. The judges will deliberate in our next room, and you have the opportunity to go ahead and vote for the fan favorite. We'll be back in about 15 minutes. See you soon. We can have people return to their seats.
We'll continue in a second.
What an extraordinary evening. What an amazing evening. Let's give all our teams another round of applause. Real extraordinary. There's a couple of people that I want to make sure get publicly acknowledged before we go ahead and have Dr. Anderson on here and announce the team. First of all, the team behind Trinity Entrepreneurship have been the team that have put this all together. And they are the ones who deserve all the incredible credit for pulling off this incredible event and everything that kind of rose up to it. Jessica Tamayo, who was with our team until May, our new hires, which we're incredibly thrilled to be having on our team, Elizabeth Murillo, sorry, Elizabeth, I forgot your last name. It's only been a week. Murillo, sorry. Tom Harkin, who literally started like yesterday. And of course, the great, our programs manager, Carmen Aramanda, who really deserves all the credit. Thank you so much, Carmen, for the team and everything. Please join me in welcoming the president of Trinity University, Danny Anderson.
Thank you so much. It is great to be here. Give a big round of applause to Luis Martinez. You know, there's so many people who make this event possible, and I just want to give another thank you to all the teams. You saw the incredible creativity of Trinity students on display here. Another round of applause for all of these teams. Thank you so much. You know, we would not be here if it were not for the generosity of the Stumberg family. You heard Louis Stumberg honored in terms of the memory of him, all of the influence that he had on this university as a trustee. But I just also want to give a special word of thanks to Herb Stumberg, one of our current trustees, for really being a driving force behind this pitch competition. Thank you, Herb. You know, one of the other things is that we have a lot of mentors who help make everything that our students do possible. We have a very special VMS program of mentors. I'm just wondering, how many mentors are in the house? Can you just stand up and let us recognize you and thank you with a round of applause? You know, they bring expertise to our students like no one else, and it's their time and energy that really makes these students shine. Finally, I'd just like to thank you, all of you, for being a part of this wonderful journey that we're on. Many of the things that we do at Trinity are trying to help make sure that no one ever thinks about Trinity as being a hidden gem. We do not ever want to be hidden. We're doing everything possible to be much more visible, and the work, the success of our students and their teams are all a key part of the ways that we're trying to tell the story of what you can accomplish if you come to Trinity. We want to be seen as one of those top 25 universities that are known for that impact that they have in students' lives. So thank you all for being a part of making that happen. And if you hadn't known it, there is one very, very special distinction that's been bestowed upon our entrepreneurship program. The Global Consortium of Entrepreneurship Centers, together with NASDAQ, give a very special award to different centers for entrepreneurship at universities. And we have been designated a NASDAQ Center of Entrepreneurial Excellence. It is a wonderful recognition. So, you know, kudos to all of you students who are part of that, but, you know, real kudos to Luis Martinez and the team that make it all possible. So now, the big moment.
Our first awardee, the fan favorite, Dr. Anderson. Awarded by Dr. Anderson, the fan favorite, your vote. Everyone ready? Yep. Wake Scoot. Come on up. This is a big check. The winner of the 2021 Stumberg Prize, who receives tonight $25,000, is MicroLev. Please come up. April for the 8th annual Stumberg Prize Seed Competition to crown the 2022 Stumberg Prize finalists. Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Luis Martinez, Director of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Trinity University. You're free to join us here in person. You're free to join us for a slight reception we're having outside. Thank you all so much, and thank you all so much for tuning in.